Today, if you get sick, you go to a pharmacy and pick up a pill. We live in an environment where machines breathe for us and microscopic chemicals hunt down infections. But for almost all of human history, a simple scratch could kill you. We know from archaeological sites that as far back as 60,000 years ago, early humans placed healing herbs beside the sick and dying. They understood that certain plants worked, but they were essentially guessing at the mechanics. They observed the macro results without any idea of what actually caused the illness. Thousands of years later, massive civilizations like the Egyptians began carefully cataloging these remedies. Their doctors were also priests, meaning treatments were a blend of physical trial and error and spiritual prayers. Some of these ancient observations were incredibly accurate. They found that chewing the bark of a willow tree reduced pain and swelling. Thousands of years later, we learned that willow bark contains the natural chemical basis for modern aspirin. Despite cataloging these effective natural cures, ancient healers hit a wall. Because they relied on spiritual explanations and macro-scale observations, they could not actually cure the underlying diseases. They simply couldn't see the mechanics of the human body. The first major shift towards seeing those mechanics happened in ancient Greece. A physician named Hippocrates proposed a radical idea. He stripped away supernatural explanations. He argued that doctors should strictly observe a patient's natural physical symptoms and let the body try to heal itself. While Europe later stalled during the Dark Ages, this philosophy of rigorous physical observation was preserved and expanded. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars like Ibn Sina organized all known medical knowledge into massive logical systems that would govern treatments for centuries. Yet, by the Renaissance, European medicine had created its own bottleneck. Doctors were blindly trusting these ancient texts, especially the writings of the Greek physician Galen, instead of looking at physical patients. In the 1500s, a Flemish doctor named Andreas Vesalius broke the ultimate taboo. He decided to bypass the ancient books, cut past the skin, and perform careful dissections of human corpses himself. When Vesalius looked inside, he found centuries of medical texts were completely wrong about our muscles and bones. By publishing accurate, detailed illustrations of the internal body, he established a new rule. Medicine could no longer rely on ancient authority, but on direct physical testing. Looking beneath the skin successfully mapped the internal territory of the human body, but it still couldn't explain the invisible forces that were actively attacking it. For most of human history, people blamed illness on bad air or an imbalance of invisible fluids inside the body. It took a new technological tool, the microscope, to shatter thousands of years of incorrect theories. By peering through these lenses, scientists like Louis Pasteur realized that specific invisible living organisms, bacteria and viruses, were the true cause of disease. This revelation had immediate, life-saving applications. Joseph Lister realized that if microscopic germs caused infection, killing those germs with chemical antiseptics could make surgery safe. Simply enforcing clean hands, clean tools, and sterilized operating rooms caused hospital death rates from post-surgical infections to plummet dramatically. Decades later, in 1928, the Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming noticed something strange in his laboratory. One of his petri dishes had been contaminated by a mold, and all the bacteria surrounding that mold were dead. That mold yielded penicillin. Humanity suddenly had a chemical weapon capable of actively destroying bacterial infections from the inside out. This chart shows the global infectious disease mortality rates. Notice the steep drop starting in the mid-20th century. The widespread introduction of antibiotics and vaccines turned historical death sentences, like pneumonia and smallpox, into preventable nuisances. By gaining the ability to observe the microscopic world, we finally stopped passively surviving diseases and started actively hunting them. Today, our tools of observation have evolved past the early microscopes. We can now look precisely inside a living patient without ever picking up a scalpel. We have zoomed into the absolute foundational level, the molecular code of life itself. By analyzing a patient's unique DNA, modern doctors can design personalized treatments and develop targeted vaccines in a matter of months. We haven't solved everything. Despite mapping our own genetics, we still face antibiotic-resistant superbugs. And massive global inequalities dictate who actually gets to use these incredible medical tools. But look at a modern geneticist working in a high-tech lab. They're using different tools, but their core motivation is identical to the ancient shamans arranging herbs in the dirt. For 60,000 years, the history of medicine has been driven by a single, unyielding human refusal to stop asking why we get sick. And every time we look a little closer, we prove that curiosity is our greatest act of care.